you very much. Okay.
You ready?
So welcome everybody to Brand, Create, Share, and Prepare. I've titled it our journaling journeys. Journaling journey is to me now what the easiest way to explain it is from my standpoint, mostly because I have done it. So far, I'm the only one that has done it. And I know other people do it, much like a recipe. I've been watching one of those movies that, in my opinion, reenact history about Julia Child. And that's how she does her recipes. And today, I wanted to set the expectation. One of the episodes, they talk about a Coco Vaughn taking 4 hours, but she had to explain it in half an hour. So today's an introduction. I'm going to use my magic cover here. I will be posting this. Of course, District 40 will posting them too. We already agreed to stay here in Zoom. And very important, I am planning to present on your opinion of this. That's why feel free to put it on the chat or contact me afterwards. I'll have my contact information. I want to know what else we can do with this topic, okay? So formally now, we're in the collaborative content creation and curation workshop. I'm very glad that Michael is here. This is one of my goals that I got done during the pandemic. I said, oh, the company is offering tuition reimbursement and a grant. Might as well. And I chose instructional design and technology. Those of you who know me, I'm an IT person. Those of you who don't know me, I'll share my LinkedIn at the end. Bottom line, half the time I'm trying to explain, I'm trying to teach. Goes back to a principle we just heard about, that ACT principle on who do I teach this to? And in this case, it's been this journey of creating content with you at the clubs. Why hashtag journaling journey? Personally, I feel that we are all journaling the moment we go near, as I call it, groupware. Every time we post, every time we share, it is a journal entry that we're making. And I thought this would be a cool hashtag to track. And at the end, when I share my contact information to address the what's in it for me, this is also going to be the first episode, I hope, in the podcast. I will talk about it later as I introduce why I did it this way. But if anybody wants to partake, half hour here and there, me attend the club, practice some of the principles, that'll be awesome. Again, this is my recipe. So I'm going to go through this ones a little bit fast because this is how I introduce the intervention to the faculty. Again, the faculty will see this tomorrow. They're gonna tutor me next Friday so I can present that half hour at school. And I wanna show you the details that they are hearing about. So in the next slides, I will describe who the target audience is. It's you. This intervention is inspired by Toastmasters. And yes, as Don brought up, it was historic then when Pathfinders was chartered. I even will go back to the conference in Lawrenceburg when we sat down and it was exploratory. It was an idea that was floating. Fast forward to today, this allow online attendance topic, here we are. And guess what? We're very good at it as an organization. It's obvious that for corporations and corporate clubs, to mention the fact that we run very well polished and very compact video conferencing, I say that's another thing to add to an already amazing set of value that we offer as an organization. So you inspire me to dedicate the last 2 years to this intervention. In detail, when somebody asked me about the audience at one of your technical meetings at 8:45 on a Tuesday, members who are assisting with host and co-host, members who are assisting with advanced video conferences tasks. When I started with this, I was helping another district. To me, what we do as Zoom masters, it's worth documenting and educating. Now, to clarify, that's why I have the VP of Education and the VP of Public Relations. This intervention is meant to encourage members to do what I just did, to save it for themselves, to properly brand it, and then to properly share it, okay? That's why brand, create, and share, we'll go into it in a little bit, is what matters about this intervention. Otherwise, this intervention is meant for content creators and professionals who collaborate and interact with their peers via conferencing, group workspace. I know that's a lot of jargon, but anybody who has been in a Zoom interviewing somebody else and keeps that content and then shares it will understand what I'm trying to, again, outline and explain here. Finally, at work, and somebody was saying, how do I apply this at work? I am using this exact same use case, as we say in information technology, meaning how we arrange the pieces in applications such as Teams. That's a paid application. Well, guess what? Google Workspace, Meet, those applications, these principles will apply as well. So the school asked to state the performance problem or learning that the project was to address. At that time, and even today, I know it's very few of you who are doing it, and those who are doing it may not be here, but overall, anyone who thinks of him or herself as a potential digital creator, as they call them, as a person that wants to create content and media, may see what I thought then in terms of putting the pieces together, not spending a lot of money, but learning how to use them so that at any time, content could be created. Again, these are my personal experiences since 2007. The YouTube channel, I will share the links to where all these things are now online. Personally, I want to get better at it. When I look back at my videos from, gosh, I was recording on a small camera back in 2008 at District 47, Gold Coast Advanced Toastmaster. And today, in 2020, when I first approached the leaders in District 11, I called it Collaborative Content Creation and Curation, and I started with the program at the school. I've done BPPR, I've done BPE, and I hope both for evaluation purposes and for promotion. The highlights, of course, not everything is meant to be or should be out there, but that they can see the value on this explanation and that they themselves or members in their clubs that see it as an extra step, because it is an extra step, are interested and are willing to practice again this recipe. Back to work, these documentation techniques, many of you know that we don't have documentation today, even though we're handling some of the most complex and, I would say, ambitious systems and processes, and there's so much technology. And to me, the ability that we now have with these applications being in our phones and with relatively few keystrokes. I know that some people may think, oh, that's too complicated. But when you think back of the times that you had to do the recording, take the card out, go to the computer, copy it over here, then, connect in order to load, we have advanced. And again, not only with Google Slides, Zoom, and YouTube, but with other applications, these principles can be utilized to document processes and explanations, if you will. That's what an intervention is, an explanation at work. So at the school, they asked me to identify what the goals and learning outcomes. This word essentially is What are you getting out of this? What am I going to learn? I ended up splitting it in 3 learning outcomes because I know for some people, they're advanced in Zoom. However, some of the thoughts that I'm introducing in terms of branding, I call it branding because the library, in my opinion, the YouTube channel, the best ones that I've seen out there, for example, there's one from Nielsen Group. Wow. If you guys want to learn about user interfaces and really how to use these technologies to interact, it's amazing. And how do they promote themselves? They have gotten their people to explain what they do on YouTube. In a way, they're giving out their secrets, but to me, there is work behind it. So to know and to meet an expert by watching them explain it on their own, again, there is so much potential in this branding, creating, and sharing. So the learning outcome, the first one, branding, and I call it nomenclature because it's better to have an organized library than one that it's not. We'll go in details on each one of those after this introduction. There is the second one, which is creation and production. We are doing it now. We're creating, we're producing. And as I heard it on the main room, there is always, how do we curate? How do we disseminate? Where does the content end up at? I'm offering here, again, to the individual member who wants to journal and capture their own personal pathways and or personal projects, how to do it, how to curate and disseminate. Bringing it down towards the end of this introduction, again, branding and nomenclature, creation and production, curation and dissemination, or brand, create, share. You live with something today. It's a thought of using these applications to brand yourself, to create your own content, and to share it. And as I was preparing for this, I realized, wait a minute, what better way to encourage somebody to prepare a speech than to sit with Zoom by themselves or with their mentor and just go over it. I mean, you're going to spend 15, 20 minutes preparing. Preparing to me is one of the hardest things in the learning experience because who do I do it with and when? I think that's an added value. So that's really a reason when I say, wait a minute, brand, create, share, and prepare. You know, prepare, rehearse by yourself or with others. The major features of the project, I'm gonna go through this one a little faster now. It gets a little bit more dense. The handout will be available. I should have said that at the beginning. And again, anyone who wants to share their input, please do. This is a beta. Right now, I'm in beta testing phase because for the first time, after a year and a half, aside from a few of you that were there helping me with the surveys, this is now, it's not even the debut. I'm showing it to the target audience and your input is really relevant. So again, the freely available technology, all of these 3 elements that I'm using are for free. Google Slides, Zoom, and YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have access to your YouTube storage and your YouTube channel, Creator Studio. They keep renaming it, Creator Studio. Again, this is how can I put my projects out there? How can I document it and keep them in a log? And like I said before, this can be moved to work. Here's another thing for the VPEs. To me, I am working on my own blog. Now the intervention has turned into a blog. I'm logging and blogging. This is going to be part of that. As many of you know, when we save locally, we also get an audio file. And was so happy to have heard Jim Eremy's presentation yesterday because what is not a podcast anymore, and nowadays, what is not a podcast nowadays, and when you look at it, they essentially saving the audio files and letting people listen to them. So clever practice. There's another project, creation of a social media presence. This content will help. you're thinking about what do I post out there? Post your speeches. They're great, and they took you a long time to prepare. So they ask us, describe how the learners will navigate or be engaged. I have hosted this in WordPress. It should be pretty straightforward, pretty standard. I took the blog and I turned it into a bibliography. It has most of the assignments were posted there. I also posted them to portfolio.com. And the videos will take you to YouTube, and that's what the learning outcomes will show you. This is very important also for the audience. The delivery methodology, as they call it in the instructional design world, when they talk about blended learning, is what we actually do in our meetings. And by adding this element, you're blending the experience of the meeting, now virtual, with the time that you spend on your own. It's asynchronous in terms that it doesn't need you to be there, but for the recording. And very important here, the social network driven learning. I was so impressed by what the district did to help me promote this. I went to a couple of groups, and then when I went to the International Toastmasters group and I posted and I shared it, they said, hey, you want to put in an event? To me, those are the kind of opportunities that established communities of practice afford us. We have a great one in that group, and that leads to crowdsourcing. So again, comments, your input will be welcome. And now we come to this one. Discuss experience, including the major milestones you had while creating the project. Here's the big one. You're here with me. We're talking about it. I'm about to go into the details in the learning outcomes. They ask us that, and I'm going to also participate in the research symposium. It has been an eye-opening journey. I've already posted, like I said, to blogging and social media. An amazing experience, the surveys that I was able to take at the very beginning, then for testing. And now finally, it's to have your input and participation validate the title. That means to collaborate and create together. These two slides, I'm just going to introduce them. Anybody who is familiar with the Kellogg's Foundation model for theory of change, they have a theory logic model, and it explains what I did. Then they have another one that's called the theory of change. Ultimately, to me, we're approaching our 100th anniversary. A lot of new people, a lot of new members that are in technology. I saw them in 2019 at the last international conference in Denver. Let's do more of this. Use our projects, the better projects, the ones worth highlighting, to promote what we do. And finally, a word from Microsoft on hybridization. We know that this is something that it's now prevalent. They highlight how challenging it is. And to me, again, the fact that we practice these techniques of hybridization at Toastmasters, it's something that for corporations, it's definitely a plus. It's something of value. So I wanted to keep that opinion from Microsoft here. And again, this is meant to be seen by the school. Okay, so we have this course learning outcome. The first one, branding and nomenclature. I'm going to go swiftly through the slides. I have about not 10 minutes because I want to leave a lot of room for Q&A to gather your input. So just look at it. It's a recipe for chicken. It may not be the way you make chicken or the way you've been taught to make chicken. Please tell me how you like your chicken. It's collaborative. So if you see something that could be added, please. This is just my interpretation. This is how I make chicken at home. And most of the time, the plates are clean. I'm low tech on the wrong side. There you go. I'm covering the camera. This was easier than sharing the screen. So again, they will design and deliver on professional and memorable branding for their content. This is all on the website separate, by the way. Again, we're getting down to the details. Details like, do I have a template? You know, if you're a BPPR, you've been trained, download what it's available in international. To me, file naming is really important because in case you have to send it to somebody, again, I'm putting on my work hat, try to make it both illustrative and concise enough. That's always a challenge. And the main reason for branding elements is when you look at the YouTube channel after this presentation, I will not try to jump and show it to you. Please visit the YouTube channel and you'll see what I'm talking about. It looks pretty consistent. I know sometimes people on YouTube, they have the talking head with a little title that sometimes gets added in post-production. Very important. I should have said it at the beginning. This intervention aims at minimizing post-production so that with the thumbnail and the slide and the share, you can avoid the need of having to mess with the video to have to edit it later. Again, the thumbnail slide that you're going to use to upload in YouTube, that's the third learning outcome. We'll talk about that then. The copy, whatever you're putting in the thumbnail, that could be something that you can use in the description. You can save it as a text file. You can keep it consistent. Another thing about doing this nowadays is that those of you familiar with YouTube, there is a chapters feature that based on how you write things on the description will take people to the specific spots in a presentation such as this one and will help with your search engine optimization. Second learning outcome is creation and production. In this one, again, the learners will identify and utilize video conferencing platforms. And I mentioned the word agile because as I just said, sure, we're fortunate that we have volunteer leaders and members that are willing to spend an extra half hour, 15 minutes, however time it takes them to fix it in post-production, make it shine. That's awesome. But this is meant to make it quick, simple, and yet presentable. So when we're creating and producing here, not many of us know how to do this. But to see your hosting and or co-hosting in like a television station, I put the word master control, you know, you have that kind of control. You should be able to, if you're a co-host, control other people's microphones. A spotlight, I'm so glad that by now we are more into spotlighting and managing a spotlight and learning. Zoom has grown, we have grown. The screen sharing, you know, these conversations that sometimes need to be had, we have moved forward. This was done a while back, but if you're doing something with a new organization, make sure you check with them. Are you going to save it on the cloud? Are you going to save it locally? You saw me asking Derek for permission. Those little details are there. By now, everybody who has recorded anything, they have seen their own recordings. How is my background working? How is my light working? Multiple monitors and multiple cameras. The use of available camera controls for mirroring image, backlight, and brightness. I wanted to show you a second camera. So let me play with a second camera today. It doesn't work with this kind of using the PowerPoint as a back. So those details, definitely on the prepare side. Audio gear, gosh, we've all become audio technicians. I mean, we have mixers in our PCs. To think ahead and look through that and figure out how to connect them and play with them as part of that prepare portion. Personally, if you really want to turn into a digital creator, you want to look into these things. You want to practice. You want to have some test videos, if you will. And of course, I personally think if you have a PC microphone or a PC speaker embedded and a camera, I'm using an old iPhone, an app that a fellow Toastmaster share with me, and I'm not in the screen, but when I come back to it, you'll see how clear it looks. Again, on the second, creating learning outcome, which is the largest. Again, the conversation on cloud and local, that varies, and look for what guidelines apply. For example, if there's a larger online or hybrid event based on who has the host account, have that conversation ahead of time, try to practice. The video transition where there is screen sharing, that's why I'm using my little low-tech cover the lens instead of doing a screen share back and forth. It is a little clunkier. So think about that. The chat feature, I've heard it in some of the other presentations. You can have a chat monitor. Actually, where is my chat? Sorry. Okay. Oops. Oh. And I'm going to save it right now. I have too many screens open. Okay. And the spotlight video feature, which I mentioned before. Personally, when you are a co-host or co-host, try to keep that camera on the speaker. Sometimes if a microphone is on, you'll see that. And again, there could be conversations about what's better in video, etc. For you who are experienced Zoom host, the use of the mute, unmute all, and for you personally, the mute video feature, it's something, again, worth looking at. It's all broken down in here, what I think is worth looking into, but it's not a definite treatise on the subject. These are my thoughts. This is how I made my recipes. And as you saw today, features change and you may have to change with them. This is very important also, the end of the recording. Be very careful when you're doing this. Personally, sometimes just losing the spot on the screen where it's going to be saved might make you lose the whole recording. So, you know, think about these things. This is more of a checklist, if you will. All this breakdown I have here, they call it a task analysis. And also, for some clubs, you may need to introduce this novelty and tell the Toastmaster, would you mind giving me an extra second and the timer to do the start of the recording and all that. I must say this conference today, the way the timings are there and all that, sorry, gave me a lot of hope because it's obviously something that is being addressed actively and we're all learning together. Awesome job on the last 2 days. Finally, curation and dissemination. We're at 18 minutes. That's great. I'm going to wrap this up with this last learning outcome, and then I'm going to open the floor for comments. Again, I want to take this back to the faculty and tell them this is what the Toastmasters in District 40 thought about it. So we can plan more research on the subject. That's kind of the idea of the presentation on April 20th. So the target here is all this content. What do I do with that? And I assume most of you are here about YouTube. And no, it's not about the analytics and the search engine optimization at this point. That comes later after we have created enough content. To me personally, you have to reach that critical mass, okay? And as I put, by the way, at the beginning, always mention it. Zoom has it embedded, but remember we have a Toastmaster International Media release. Mention it, make sure that that is part of the protocol and that people are clear on it. Hi, Ashley. Am I 5 from finishing?
Not yet. I was just turning on to get ready.
Okay, no, cool. I saw you. Perfect. So, curation and dissemination. We've talked about all these things. So what do we do with them? We want to put them somewhere. I have not been near the transition between today's event, the speech contest, and taking them to international. I haven't had a chance to volunteer for that, but I know that's a whole discipline on its own. So from the little that I've heard, those are the kind of things that you gotta prepare for and what the guidelines are. Then on YouTube, he will ask you all these details. He will ask you, is this for children? Is it not? Again, you can upload and lock it down. You can upload and only make it available to the people that you send the link to. It will be unlisted. Or you can upload, granted, you got your releases and all that, and you can share it with the public. How do we share? In YouTube, there is the ability to trim, to do some basic edits, indicating a specific time. This goes back also to the newer features. If you're working with cloud storage in Zoom, that may help you move things around faster. But agreeing on a method and finding a way to do it that works for you is what I'm trying to highlight here. And personally, hashtag journaling journey. It's all I ask of. If anybody wants to work with me, that's all I'm asking. It's just, it's not even credit. Is what I'm hoping to see a few videos, some videos, an X amount of videos out there with that hashtag, because it works not only for the analytics, the basic analytics, but it's part of modern search engine optimization. Again, this is why that thumbnail that we created in the first learning outcome gets put in. This is when we're typing in YouTube. Also, the hashtags, they have constraints. You know, you're not supposed to be using music. They will not let you load the video. Audience settings, again, I mentioned it before, public, unlisted, private, you can lock it down. And then YouTube is also now allowing you to schedule when you're going to put this out there, okay? Now, finally, on the YouTube section, once you create enough content, and going back to that critical mass, you can create a playlist. You got to have at least 50 videos to create a playlist. You can create a playlist with under 50, but then once you have 50, you have the ability to create a mix, okay? And as you've seen it, when you're searching on a topic, it will line them up. And then, as I was saying, the chapter feature, I found it really interesting because I would record, I would watch the timing on the recording, I would type it into YouTube. It's really simple. You're essentially using from 0 to the time, 00:00 to 01:01, minute 1. That will give you a way to, if you will, fast forward or cue through the recording. Oh, I think I'm gonna take this off. Okay. So this has been my journey. For the past year and a half, I've been studying. Again, I'm showing it to you as a beta. It's not ready, it's not done, it's not complete. Now it's your opinion that's gonna make this journey worthwhile. I've done it all for myself, and just the fact that I can look back on key videos, I can show them to the faculty. When I submitted to the research symposium, I said, hey, here's what I've been doing with that. It obviously made a good impression because they allowed me to present. Work also here, that was part of the application process, was to submit have you presented before? And some of you at some of the clubs here, when Rise Higher was chartered, I remember they gave me time to do that presentation. When I came back to Voice of Independence, I tried to do it again. And like everything else is iterative. You get better every time you do. Now, when you journal, you can see, I studied animation. You see the motion, you see the progression, you see the keyframes, and how, like we have heard this whole weekend, how you can make it better, how you can make it work even better for everyone. Okay, now I'm going to disappear again. So I have formally presented at Toastmaster International District 40 Spring Conference. Thank you very much. And an invitation on Wednesday, April 20th at 2:20 p.m. Eastern, the Research Symposium at the University of Arizona Global Campus for the School of Business and Technology will take place. That it's only a half hour, and it will be, again, hopefully based on your opinion and input today, So thank you for being here today. Again, this is my presentation. We're going to have a nice round of Q&A, which I hope to record. The website is c4hdl.org or journalingjourney.org. I will put them in the chat in a second. And were we to collaborate, or if you want to check out how I'm doing, these are the two hashtags I'm using in LinkedIn and Facebook. Let me put this in here, in the chat. Please save the chat. There you go. And now I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. Hey, oh. Okay, floor is yours. We have 11 minutes. Any questions?
Hey, Francisco, I have a quick question. It's Tom.
Hi, Don.
Hey, if there would be one thing you would want your audience to do right now before you complete your project, what would be the one thing you would recommend we do?
One thing I would recommend we do, Don, check your YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, open it up. You know, use this as your recipe. You know, I explained some of the principles in there on the third learning outcome. What is he talking about when he talks about offload? Oh, what does he say? You can just take your phone and do a quick recording. The YouTube app on the phone lets you do that. So if you have a Gmail account, I will encourage you, go check out. It's there, and I have access. Play with a single video. What I explained on the third learning outcome. Don't worry about the branding. Don't worry about the Zoom. Just try to load something. Just try to load something and see how it looks. That's how I got started. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheila, you're here. Anything from when we've had these conversations at the Voice of Independence that reminds you?
No, I think you did an excellent job today, Francisco. You gave a lot of information, a lot of for people to think about and chew on.
Okay. Oh, I have a friend from Germany. David, you think we can present in Munich on this topic? That's a question to you, David. You just have to say yes or no.
You ask me whether I present for Munich?
Should we present on this topic at MUC? Yes or no? Should we present?
Yeah, that's what I told you when we had a talk this afternoon in Germany.
And why? Why, David? Why do you see value?
Because I think it's quite practical, quite useful, you know, for a Toastmaster when he or she does presentation. I mean, I watched some of your videos on YouTube and also your district's website. I saw some of your presentations and you showed us how you did it, you know, with Zoom, with the setup in your workshop, actually, I think in your own, maybe a bedroom. Really impressive. It's quite a good way to show other Toastmasters how to make very good presentation.
Thank you, David. And yes, let's plan for maybe the month of May. That will be after the symposium, so it will be another version. But let's talk about it more. And thank you for that idea, David. And thank you for being here. I know it's late over there, but thanks.
Thank you.
Steve, I'm going to call on you. I'm going to call on some of the people that have been asking. So, Steve, what do you think? Is this something that would be useful for PR to have the highlight videos? From your club Midway, do you think this aligns with the feature video that we talked with Arlene and Rick? Steve.
Yes, it's something that we can definitely look at. We are in the process of trying to get our YouTube channel set up for our club. And, we're open to any and all possibilities about how to get that done. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not the most technically astute person in that arena. So I'd have to hand that question off to Rick Seabury, who's on the technology committee, and other members of that committee.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. I just want to highlight the fact that John Humper invited me to the technology sessions on Tuesday evenings. I asked Steve, and I was able to meet with Rick and Arlene. What they're doing in Midway, they choose a highlight video and they put it on their page. And to me, that was awesome that somebody was already doing something that parallels and that they found value in creating it. Steve, is Sherry back? Sherry Wood?
Yes, Sherry is our VPPR.
Okay.
Let me share my page, my screen real quick.
Please.
Do here.
This is
And
awesome. Thank you, Steve.
It's kind of shameless because I'm actually one of the pictures on the page this week, but ignore that. But here is our featured speaker, and this changes periodically whenever we have a speech that we want to highlight. So people come in here and just click on this, and then the speech, there'll be an introduction that comes up. And if we want to go ahead and maximize it, we can do that. And we have a little of the branding at the beginning. So you see the branding we have at the beginning, and then we have the intro for the speech, and then we have the speaker. So that, and at
Perfect.
the end we have some branding information too, and whatever.
Wow. That's a great illustration, Steve. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you very much. I think Arlene and Rick both agreed that even though it was extra work, it seemed to be worth it. So I'm looking forward to getting to know Sherry and maybe interview her on the topic. So we have 4 minutes. Okay. I don't know if we are here. Oh, John, you've been there since day one. You want to wrap this up and maybe set us in a new direction since you've been close to the project. What do you think about how it was presented today, and is this something that will take us into the future?
Hey, Francisco. Yeah, thank you. This is something that we keep getting better at. Everybody's taking small steps. You're helping us to see how to start to put our steps together. I like the idea of a little less post-production. And so there's a lot to get our heads around, but we do it because there's efficiency in the end, a shorter pipeline from camera go to posting. So I like how you've packaged this, and we might have to review it. We might have to hear from you again in our next big event, or try to take the steps and create our own videos to show how we're going. Accountability. Everybody, let's flatter Francisco a little bit with our own accountability. Let him know.
And no, John, and seriously, the last few meetings, your prompts to us and me as a Zoom co-host and all that, thank you for validating and helping us. Again, this is a work in progress, and the book. Oh my gosh, we have a guest!
Hi.
Hi, Brigitte. Hi.
Here's our
Everett.
future, Francisco. Here's our
Hi. Zoom baby, thank you. That was a treat.
That's cuter than my kitten.
Well, everybody, it's been an honor again. Follow the journey, journaling journey. If anybody wants to have a half an hour session and work out some of these details, I'll be honored to help and assist. And all I'm asking for in return is a hashtag. And again, who knows how many of these we can put together between now and 2024 for the 100th anniversary. Derek, back to you.
Thank you, Francisco. Job well done. I'm sure that there's a lot of takeaways from this course that will help us to make sure that we are able to move forward in the future. I'm going to drop a link in the chat for an evaluation from Francisco. Definitely, he has some great feedback from the people that were called on today, but please take the opportunity, everyone, to give him some feedback. As he said, this is his initial presentation. Let's help to make the presentation an even better one next time he gives it to District 40 and outside of District 40. Again, I thank you for your time today. Francisco, great job. And we are about to be moved back into the main room for another round of educational sessions. Or is it the contest? I'm sorry, I don't have my script up in front of me. I think it's a contest next. Thank you
Yes,
again, everyone.
judges or briefings begin at 4 o'clock
Okay.
and the contest at 4:30. So
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
thank
you.
you.
Lots
You
of
can
fun.
leave
Thanks.
room. Hit leave room. Don't leave the meeting, though.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Again, I hope everybody received some value from their education session. We are going to take a break here until 4:30. That's when the Table Topics contest will begin. For all of the contestants in the Table Topics contest, please report back here at 4 o'clock, and we're going to move you into one of the breakout rooms as we will begin conducting our briefing. Does anybody have any questions before we head out? Okay, well, go enjoy yourself, everybody. We'll see you here in a few.